Hello and welcome back to the Battle Room. My name is Colin, as always. And today we're going to be looking at tournaments that occurred this past weekend. I pulled 3 of them. We've got 2 Western tournaments, 1 Japanese tournament. I think they tell a pretty cool story of, the current state of the meta right now. I wanted to talk about them, so let's hop right into it. The first one we got here is the Nino Poke Bros. It was best of 1 Swiss rounds, X2 cut, and then a single elimination top cut. 212 players, so it was a pretty hefty tournament. We had some pretty top players playing in this, and yeah, let's talk about it. So let's look at the top 8 first. If you'll notice here, okay, first off, there's a ton of Hydreigon. Let's get that out of the way. But what you'll notice here is we've got Murkrow, and assumably Corviknight with Tailwind, but not Murkrow. So 3 of the teams of the 4 ran Murkrow, and they all did lose in top 8. There were no Murkrows in top 4, which I think is pretty interesting. I think Murkrow is a very, very strong Pokemon, and a Pokemon that's garnered a lot of attention. It's very cute, fun, it's priority Tailwind, and it's very good at doing its job. It is really crazy how good Murkrow has become. It's become one of the top tier threats. Like it's literally standing next to Garchomp and Hydreigon as some of the best Pokemon in the game right now. But in this tournament, Murkrow got shut down at every single front. Joe was able to dispatch it, the Hail beat it, and then so did the 2 Dondozos. So do with that what you will. We'll probably figure out more Murkrow stuff later. We'll probably talk about Murkrow a bit. But in this tournament, Murkrow didn't really... I mean, it got to top 8, which is impressive, but it didn't pull the big victory here. In top 4, we have 2 Dondozos. Now, Dondozo to me is a really interesting Pokemon because the more popular it is, I think the more gimmicks and tricks there are going to be to shut it down, because I think it is a hard Pokemon to deal with. But obviously it is dispatching the Murkrows who normally run Haze, so they're still getting around it. Pangy was able to. So I don't know, at the same time, like, clearly, even if you have text for it, it is performing and it is succeeding. But I also am not a huge fan of Dondozo. It's very one-dimensional, and I think being locked in and being unable to switch like really hurts yourself, but it is still performing well. It's a stat Titan. It pops off really hard when it gets going, so I don't know. Clearly still a strong Pokemon and something to definitely prepare for when you're building your own teams, but it didn't win this weekend. We got Joe with his control screens. Now, Joe has been using this type of team for a while. I would argue it's probably, at this point in Scarlet and Violet, if I see Joe, I'm expecting dragons and screens, right? That's just kind of how he likes to play. Popping off here with a top 4 finish as expected from Joe. Then we got Atmosphere with a Hail team. I'll come back to that one. Let's talk about the Dondozos on the other side of the bracket. So we had a Dondozo mirror in top 4, ultimately with this Dondozo team winning, knocking out Pangy, and then we see the Hail team knock out Joe. So we have Dondozo versus Hail in the finals. And yeah, I mean, the Dondozo teams, there's not much to talk about, like in terms of how they're innovating. This is just Aaron Traylor's team, and this is pretty crazy. We've got the Sand mode, then we've got the Mouse Hold plus Toxtricity, which is pretty wild, but it's nothing too super duper crazy. Now on the other hand, let's talk about Hail here. Hail finally won its first big tournament. Should I say Snow won its first big tournament with Satitan, Abomasnow, Indeedee, Armarouge, and then Annihilate and Hydreigon to round the team out. I really like the way this team is built. We've got a Trick Room mode for Abomasnow, which is great, and then we have this fast mode with Satitan and his 2 buddies of Annihilate and Hydreigon. So, and then obviously Indeedee and Armarouge can be used out of Trick Room, but Indeedee especially can help with everybody. So it's like this really well blended team of having Trick Room and then this out of Trick Room mode using the speed of Satitan. So I really like the composition and the way this team was built. I think it's incredibly smart. I like the use of Hail here. I think it's a very cool team. Very deserving win for Atmosphere over here. But yeah, this was the first tournament that happened this weekend. It's a pretty interesting one, I would argue. It's a pretty interesting one. It gives us a little bit of an insight about the meta. Murkrow's really clearly losing a lot in top 8, which is pretty surprising, as it did just win the biggest tournament recently. And then Snow finally winning its big tournament, which I think is awesome for it, because I think Snow is very good. So now let's hop into our next tournament. Now next up here, we've got a Japanese tournament that occurred this weekend. Pretty interesting. Japan is always very interesting teams. They go kind of crazy, and so looking at their meta can always be a little bit enlightening. Let's start at the bottom here. We've got Dondozo plus Tailwind plus Golden Glow plus a Dragon. It just makes sense. This looks like a good team. You've got these two little buddies, and then you've got a strong tailwind mode, like a very aggressive mode. Just looks good. Oh, next up is a sand team with Murkrow. No Hydreigon, which is pretty interesting, but you still got that really, really fast Golden Gomo. You got Garchomp, Meowscarda. It looks like a pretty strong offensive team, but with a sand mode, which makes it kind of cool. Right here, we've got Annihilate Mousehold with Dragonite, Volcarona, Amoonguss, and Abomasnow. Actually kind of a crazy team. Double grass types. We've got Dragonite, which honestly didn't perform super well this weekend, so it's cool to see it here. Annihilate plus Mousehold. This could be beat up strats. This could be anything. Either way, pretty cool team. Next up, we've got kind of a Trick Room team. We got Armarouge and Didi, but then we've got Dondozo, and then we got Meowscarda and Sylveon. So it looks like it's just a nice blend of a Trick Room mode, an aggressive Meowscarda, plus any of these Pokemon paired with Dondozo. Looks pretty solid. Also, another Dondozo. Oh my gosh. 3 Dondozos is pretty crazy. I mean, this is a top 8, but much like the last tournament, the Dondozos, I guess there were 2 in the last one. There's 3 in this one, so still clearly showing its strength here. This is like basically the same team as the first one. It's the exact same team actually as the first one. So that one made it to top 4 though, which is cool. And then we've got Baxcalibur paired with King Gambit, Murkrow, Golden Glow, Meowscarda, and Garnackle. We haven't seen much of this guy. The Garg hasn't really been popping off. I know a lot of people really liked it early. It's pretty cool Mon, and it's good at pressing Salt Cure, but we just haven't seen a lot of it. Cool to see it place top 4 here, especially with Baxcalibur. King Gambit as well with Murkrow. That's a crazy team. Wow. That's a wild one. And then we've got a potential Perish team here. It kind of looks Perishy, maybe with a Azumarill, but I also could see it just being built around setting up Annihilate. I'm not really sure. Either way, Gothitelle placing second is pretty impressive for Gothitelle. But the team itself looks pretty good. Firewater Grass, we got Annihilate plus that guy. Like, it could just be a Trick Room mode for Gothitelle with the Azumarill, and I think that would be pretty good too. Either way, sick team. And then we've got the Champions team over here with Pawmot. We've got Florges, Volcarona, Pawmot, Dragapult, Meowscarda, and Grimmsnarl. What a team. Florges is pretty cool. Fairy types kind of suck right now. Sylveon is like the big one, and like Azumarill. Fairy types not really doing well considering there's so many dragons. But it is cool to see Florges here. Florges is a Pokemon that usually doesn't do that well. Pawmot with Revival Blessing is cool, and then we have Volcarona, and then Dragapult. Not many Dragapults right now. I would argue that Hydreigon and Garchomp are kind of dominating the game. Especially with their ability to just change Terra types. Dragapult can't actually punish them, even though he's faster. Because if they just change into a Steel type and you stay as a Dragon type, Hydreigon's going to one-shot you back. So, Dragapult not seeing a ton of use right now, but it's cool to see it, get second here, or first here, sorry, with Pawmot and Meowscarda. What a wild team. Hopefully we can actually see what was used on it. I do think it's a very cool 6 Pokemon. Pawmot's very interesting. Alright, let's go to the final tournament of the weekend. So this one is the Big Kahuna. This one had 465 players. The winner got $1,300. Absolutely crazy. I believe there's $3,000 worth of prizes, which is nuts. So this was the big tournament. So I'm going to kind of go through it a little bit quicker until we get to top 8. But first off, JoeUX9 with his control screens. Nothing too crazy. We talked about it already. This is very much the same team as he used the other day, except he got rid of the Meowshold for Sylveon. We've got Dan Brown here with a Titan, a Abomasnow team, with a random Skelded Gurge. I really wish this team had Grimmsnarl. I feel like it would pop off with it, but Hariyama's pretty wild here. It's kind of a cool team though. I like the snow. I was a fan of seeing it. Hyper Offense Dragons with Sylveon. I like this team a lot actually. The composition looks pretty cool. Garchomp synergies as well with these two. Sylveon gives you that fairy type. And then you got Mousehold to support and Meowscarda to do big damage. I would be worried about Trick Room, but otherwise than that, the team looks pretty good. Pretty cool. We got Rain with Palafin, with Dragonite actually. And then we've got ourselves a Amoonguss, Golden Glow, Meowscarda. Pretty cool team. Next up, we've got Pawmot plus Dondozo with the Golden Glow Hydreigon combo, which we always see. I feel like it's such a good pairing with Dondozo with Tatsugiri. It just kind of rounds everything out, and then you just bring in fast mons here. I like it. Then we got Lilycole, Sylveon, King's Gambit, Hariyama, and Oranguru. Just a hard Trick Room team. Very cool to see. Yeah, I like it. It's cool to see at a high level when people are using Trick Room like this. Just, you know, eruption spam. It pops off. It does well. Next up is Meowscarada Tailwind. It's very similar to the team we saw. We got a Tailwind mode, but we also have this Grimmsnarl to like set up Skeldagurge. Like it looks like what I like about this team is that you can go Tailwind, you can go crazy, but you can also slow it down, set up some screens, win with Skeldagurge, set up your Garchomp. It's a cool team. You got hyper offense and you got this very defensive core. Just like on a whim, you can just switch to. I like that. I like that about this team. Then we've got a Celluledge team with Gyarados. Pretty interesting. We got Golden High Dragon once again with Amoonguss. No speed control. No speed control from Seth here, but looks like a pretty solid team nonetheless. I like Hariyama. We're actually seeing a little bit of Hariyama here, which is pretty cool. Next up is Teen Spirit here with Baratic. Baratic popping off, getting top cut here in this huge tournament. That's impressive. Pelipper to give it Swift Swim, set up the rain, give Tailwind potentially to his teammates. I like this team. Skeldagurge to try to win too. Nice little win con against the boosters of the format. Pretty cool team. Skeldagurge is a cool Pokemon that we're seeing a lot of use, honestly. All right, we got our Murkrow, first Murkrow of the day. We got another Murkrow in a second, but we got Murkrow Golden Go with Weavile and Mousehold and Cellurouge. Like, it's a very offensive team. Weavile is an interesting pick, not one you seek very commonly. Looks obnoxious to deal with. Looks like it pairs well against Golden Go and Hydreigon, so it makes sense. Forces them to Terra at the very least. Next up here is a Azumarill plus. So this team is kind of cool. We've got both Murkrow and Grimm. It's kind of similar to the way the Talonflame team function. You can set up screens, protect your guys, or you can set up Tailwind to just go fast. And so it's just this cool, like, on a whim, you just bring one of them. It means you don't really get to bring them together too often, but if you do, they're still playable. Grimmsnarl is no slouch when it comes to damage, and neither is Foul Play Murkrow. So next up, we've got ourselves a Mousehold team. I wonder if it's Belly Drum. It's like a Mousehold team built around supporting Hydreigon and Meowscarada. No speed control is pretty wild. I'd love to see how they deal with Tailwind. But, you know, we got naturally fast Pokemon. We got Mousehold for support. And then we got this Firewater Grass core on the top. So, we like to see it. And Dragon Fairy Steel. Looks like it's just a very defensive team in nature. Now we've got Annihilate plus... So this looks like a hard Trick Room team in a way. Like these five are hard Trick Room, and then there's just Annihilate. I wonder if it's Final Gambit. It looks kind of like a hard TR team. Another hard TR team popping off. Then we've got this Control Sand team with Corviknight. I think this team's really cool. It looks like it just lets you play Pokemon, which is always cool. There's not much to say. It's really boring, it looks like. But, like, you have great pieces, right? Like, you have two Levitators. You got Gastrodon. You got Yawn. You got Spore. You got Earthquake Spam. You got Tailwind. Like, it's got a ton of tools. I like the 6 Pokemon. This team is like a... I don't even know. It looks like a Trick Room team with, like, these 3. But then it's got this really offensive mode. I kind of like it. Just honestly crazy stuff. That team looks insane. Like, Girafarig and Garnicle together is, like, crazy, especially with this, like, fast mode. Insane brain. Then we got another Trick Room team, honestly, with a Hydreigon just to, like, round it out. I like it. Generic name here with Kilowatt Gyarados, and then a Trick Room mode with Sylveon. So we got fast mode and Trick Room mode. We're seeing a lot of that, honestly, like with Armourouge especially. Like, it just gives you a Trick Room mode that you can just slot on a team. Next up, we got Palaf and Pelipper. Wait, real quick, what I like about Armourouge and Didi, though, is that they're just kind of good, and that just pairing them together just puts a lot of pressure. Like, you have to respect these two. So I do like the pairing, and I like how you can just slot them on a team. They just add a lot. Like, you get Follow Me, which can help anybody. You get Trick Room, which can obviously give you a whole mode around it, and then they just do a ton of damage together. I'm a big fan of them. Next up, we got King's Gambit Rain with the Salamence. Our first Salamence of the tournament. We got Mousehold to help support that. Palafin again with Rain. Palafin Rain seems to be the way to run Palafin, which obviously in singles is an absolute monster, in doubles just okay. Next up, we got Talonflame. We got the Talonflame Grimmsnarl again with this very controlled core. I like it. You got defensive Mon, and then you just set up for your 2 dragons in Rotom. Makes sense. Andy with a crazy team here of Tinkaton, Palmot, a Bulbasaur in a Tailwind team with a random Gastron on there. Andy going crazy. Next up is the classic team. Well, actually, this isn't the classic team. Usually this is Arcanine, but they put Mousehold on there, which I do like. It does more damage. But this is a very Japanese team that we've seen a lot find a lot of success. It's just a very good team. I'd say like the blueprint for the Murkrow team at the moment. Next up here is Palafin again. Lots of Palafin actually made cut, all with Pelipper, which is pretty interesting. I don't think we saw any solo Palafins yet, but Palafin and Pelipper, clearly a combo. And then we've got Grimmsnarl, Skeldagurge, and then we have a nice little Meowscarda with Amoonguss. I like it. This team's crazy. We got Grimmsnarl plus Skeldagurge and Gardevoir, and then we've got Garchomp with his buddy Rotom and Amoonguss. We got Dondozo, our first one in a while. I don't think we've seen any actually. Or so we saw one so far. Yeah, there's only been one. Dondozo not showing up this tournament whatsoever. Well, I guess I shouldn't say that. It's just we got two so far. Maybe it's in the cut. But then we've got Sylveon, Arcanine, Golden Glow, Muscarda. It's like you just try to build a balanced team and you slap these two on. I swear that's how they build these teams. I don't know. Next up, Conan. We've got ourselves double dragons with a Grimmsnarl and a Gyarados and a Skeldagurge. I like this team a lot. It's very clearly built around setting up your Skeldagurge, but you also have Garchomp Hydreigon for good damage. You've got Gyarados to help with Intimidate and also Fly and help. It's great synergy with Garchomp. And then Amoonguss to bring everything together. Just a really solid team. Now we got Josh Diamond. Now, this is where the money comes in. So Josh Diamond's got Pelipper Dreadnought with Toxtricity, Sableye, Serena, and King Gambit. This team is crazy sauce. This team is truly, really, really crazy. What is going on here? And then we've got Marco Fierro here with Sylveon, Annihilate, Rotom, Grimmsnarl, Murkrow, and Golden Go. Very much an Annihilate-centric team. You set up with Bulk Up. And you got Murkrow to give yourself speed if you want to do that. You got Golden Glow to deal big damage with Tailwind. And then Rotom to help with Dondozo. And Sylveon. This looks like a very Annihilate-focused team, which is pretty cool. Nova here with Cellurouge. It looks like a very Celluledge. It looks like a very Celluledge-centric team. You got Grimmsnarl to support it, Amoonguss to support it, and then you have this like backbone of offensive Pokemon to be as obnoxious as possible. Yoshi with Dondozo. We've got that Talonflame, Meowscarda, Golden Glow, and Hydreigon. Just a classic combo at this point. But this is the highest placing Dondozo so far, piloted by Marcus. Makes sense. What's really cool about Tatsugiri is a lot of them run Scarf, so you can run Soak to pair with Meowscarda, which goes pretty hard. But you also got this Dondozo mode that obviously you can pair up with as well. Bingji Wang, one of the greatest players in America. We've got ourselves Mousehold plus Annihilate, plus Murkrow plus Grimm, so it's a very Annihilate-centric team. But you have a Trick Room mode. You got Golden Glow to bring things together with Tailwind or with Grimmsnarl. Pretty Annihilate-focused as our star here, but Annihilate is very much a good carry Pokemon. Another Annihilate team, but this one a little bit more aggressive. We got the Hyper Offense plus Murkrow plus his buddies. Okay, Ren. We've got ourselves Barraskewda, Palafin, and Pelipper. We got Triple Water, a Trick Room mode paired with King's Gambit, and a Meowscarda to bring everything together. Absolutely insane team there. Shohei here's got a Meowscarda Arcanine team with... Oh, this is the same team as the one we saw earlier with Dondozo, but now this is now the highest placing Dondozo. We've got ourselves Lilligant Torkoal, Mousehold, and then a Trick Room mode. This is just very much a hard Trick Room team with a Lilligant. We've got Gardevoir and Didi. We've got Bisharp for Trick Room, or sorry, King Gambit, and then we got this guy. Press Follow Me as well and deal damage. So it's like out of Trick Room mode with the top three, but then it's very Trick Room-y. I like the blend, honestly. I like the blend. That's top 8. In 7th, we've got ourselves a Volcarona team. It's very Volcarona-centric, and it's got that Garchomp Corviknight Rotom core, which is pretty cool, with Grimmsnarl. I like it. You got potential Quiver Dance stuff. Looks like a cool team. Now we got Chongjun with a Azumarill Annihilate team. So again, this is the same kind of vibe as like the Bingji team we saw as well, where it's very much focused on Annihilate sweeping and doing as much as possible to carry the games. Okay, this team's crazy. So we got Arash Amati with double Kilowatt and Talonflame. Now, I really do wonder if it is the wind power, like the wind power thing where you set up Tailwind and then this guy starts sweeping. I really do wonder. I think Arash's team is super aggressive and super fun. We've got we got Garchomp Gengar, which goes hard. We got Telepathy, which makes me think this thing discharges with Garchomp and with Gardevoir. So, I don't know. This team is absurd. Next up, we've got ourselves a Annihilate team with a very strong Trick Room mode over here. But we've also got Tailwind to be as useful as possible with Meowscarada and Annihilate. Looks like a pretty solid team. That was top 4. In third place, got Maddie Morgan with Annihilate, Mousehold, Hydreigon, Azumarill, Meowscarada, and Golden Glow. Just a very, very cool team. I like this team a lot when I saw it. It's got some cool pieces. You got your Annihilate mode, but you also got this really cool Azumarill, and you have this offensive mode, like with speed. You have Meowscarada, you've got Mousehold here, very fast Pokemon. It just seems like a very balanced team speed-wise, and it's just less about speed control and more about just using your superior typing and your support mono Mousehold, and just playing around that and just having good switches and good typing. And I like Maddie's team for that. Good third place finish. In second, we've got Nails here with Gothitelle. So Gothitelle did place second in that Japanese tournament as well. And we're seeing Gothitelle again here, which is pretty crazy. Gothitelle popping off. And spoiler alert, there's another one. But Gothitelle doing really, really well in this tournament with Garnacle, Gyarados, Arcanine, Amoonguss, and King Gambit. What a wild team. Clearly a strong Trick Room mode with these 4. But then you have the double Intimidate, which is crazy. With the amount of Annihilate we've seen, double Intimidate is a crazy, crazy feat for Nails to pull off here. But he did. He got second. He played extremely well. He's got Amoonguss. Garnacle. Amoonguss can help with it. He got Spore, Trick Room. Looks like a really strong team. A strong Trick Room mode. And then these Mons are very good out of Trick Room. And you just got a really good balance here. And in first place, Adrian Hurley holding light. I actually had the honor to lose to him in Swiss. Absolutely destroyed me. Very sick team here. Got Dondozo, which did win the tournament. Dondozo popping off. You still have to respect this thing, but with a very interesting take on it. Because I think that a lot of the other Dondozo teams were rather, not boring, but they weren't as creative as Adrian's team here. And I like to see the Meowscarada paired with, Meowscarada obviously is always a Dondozo, but Meowscarada Gothitelle is really disgusting. You got a Trick Room mode with this Torkoal that is specs and can do crazy big damage with Terra Fire. And then you got Palmont for the res. Palmont has won 2 tournaments. Gothitelle placing first, second in these tournaments this weekend. Interesting stuff. Palmont popping off and Gothitelle popping off. Not really surprised about Gothitelle, but Palmont finally getting its time to shine. Now let's look at our usage stats really quick down here. Hydreigon, the most used, makes sense. A lot of them cutting. One of the big failures of the tournament, I would argue, is Murkrow. It had 41 usage, but only 8 of them in top cut, which is kind of absurd. Another big one to point out is, of course, what Pokemon was it? Oh, King Gambit over here, 11 out of 52. Not a lot of King Gambit users, but a lot of them cutting, which is absolutely absurd. But yes, these are some of the usage stats. Golden Glow still number 2nd. Hydreigon, Garchomp, like, it makes sense. These Pokemon are very, very popular. They form one of the most popular cores. Like, these 4 together are just broken. Meowscarada rising in value, I would argue. Amoonguss actually doing pretty low, I would argue. Amoonguss not popping off as much as I thought it would. Grim doing about as you'd expect, and I think it's finally the time of the rise of Annihilate. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, that's what happened this weekend. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great and amazing day, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.